So where the hell is the rest? 15,968 virgins. Where did they go? Welcome. This is your resident scholar from the School of Hard Knocks, Baba Mustafa. And today we are going to look at Numbers 31, which presents a confronting narrative of the Israelites' conquest of the Midianites, people who allegedly led the Israelites astray. So if you don't know who the Midianites are, you need to head over to Genesis chapter 25 and see. Actually, let's just do it. So in order to understand who the Midianites are, and this will blow your mind. So Abraham had taken another wife whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, Shua, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan, and the descendants of Dedans were Ashurites and Lithusites and Lumites. The sons of Midian were Ephah and Ephah, Hanok, Abidah, Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. So right off the bat, we see that the Midianites are screwed by Abraham because they don't get any inheritance. They get gifts. But enough of complaints. Let's continue with this search for truth to liberate the minds of my people. Because this book has put a lot of people into a snooze where it has chained them. They pay allegiance to this book. They've forgotten their ways of life. And, they pledge allegiance to this book like the book, as if the book will give them life. You have to have a relationship with the Most High. But now I'm drifting away. Let me go back to my notes here so we can stay focused. Numbers 31 recounts how Yahweh commands Moses to exact vengeance upon the Midianites, instructing the Israelites to kill every Midianite man, woman, and child, and sparing only the virgin girls. Interesting. Why does God need virgins? It's the question you should ask your pastor or your rabbi. Why does God need virgins? This directive raises some disturbing questions about the morality of divine commands and the ethical implications of warfare. The notion of sparing virgin girls while sanctioning the slaughter of an entire community is deeply troubling. The selective sparing of virgins adds another layer of complexity to this already troubling narrative, as we shall see when we read Numbers 31. The text implies that the virgin girls were spared for the purpose that are not explicitly stated. It seems Numbers 31 suggests that the lives of these young girls were commodified and their bodies treated as objects to be used for religious or material gain. It underscores the dehumanizing consequences of viewing others as just mere instruments of divine will. Numbers 31 highlights the intersection of religion and violence, raising important questions about the relationship between faith and the justification of bloodshed. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of religious zealotry and the potential for religious doctrines to be exploited to justify atrocities. You might be asking yourself, what kind of atrocities? I'll give you one good example, slavery. And I'll leave it at that. These narratives challenge us to confront uncomfortable truth about the darker aspect of human nature and complexities of divine morality. By engaging in thoughtful dialogue, like we're having today, and rigorous examination, we can deepen our understanding of this text and glean value insight into the human condition and the nature of faith. Now let's read Numbers 31 and see what all the fuss is about. Am I crazy? Are you crazy? Is everybody crazy? Or is there some dealings here that we need to address? So, Numbers 30, Numbers 31. Let's start with the vengeance on the Midianites.
Chapter 31. The Lord said to Moses,
Take vengeance on the Midianites for the Israelites. After that, you will be gathered to your people.
Right off the bat, let's start with vengeance. What exactly did the Midianites do to the Israelites? And please, I know what it is, but does that justify to exterminate? Not exterminate, let me just use a word, genocide mission, just because they wore some short skirts to entice the men of Israel? Does that call for genocide? That's a good question you should ask yourself and your religious leaders.
Moses said to the people,
Arm some of your men to go to war against the Midianites, so that they may carry out the Lord's vengeance on them. Send into battle 1,000 men from each of the tribes of Israel.
So 12,000 men armed for battle, 1,000 from each tribe, were supplied from the clans of Israel. Moses sent them into battle, 1,000 from each tribe, along with Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, who took with him articles from the sanctuary and the trumpets for signaling. They fought against Midian, as the Lord commanded Moses, and killed every man. Among their victims were Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. They also killed Balaam, son of Beor, with the sword. The Israelites captured the Midianite women and children, and took all the Midianite herds, flocks, and goods as plunder. They burned all the towns where the Midianites had settled, as well as all their camps. They took all the plunder and spoils, including the people and animals, and brought the captives, spoils, and plunder to Moses and Eleazar the priest, and the Israelite assembly at their camp on the plains of Moab, by the Jordan across from Jericho. Moses, Eleazar the priest, and all the leaders of the community went to meet them outside the camp. Moses was angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, who returned from the battle.
Have you allowed all the women to live?
He asked them.
They were the ones who followed Balaam's advice and enticed the Israelites to be unfaithful to the Lord in the Peor incident, so that a plague struck the Lord's people. Now
Hold on a second. So Moses is mad that they kept the women? They kept the women. That's what he's mad about. Is it not enough to kill all their men? Now you're going to kill their women, but only keep the virgins? There's one thing with the Bible that I seem not to understand. Why the misogyny in the Bible? It's like a woman has no place in the Bible. We're killing women here because they entice the men. It happens today. Women just wear. It's the habit of it's a habitual creature. We are habitual creatures. We just do this. It's not the first time women have enticed men. But does that mean they deserve death? Let me stop. Let me just stop complaining and keep going.
kill all the boys, and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save for yourselves every girl who has never slept with a man.
That doesn't even make any sense. So you're going to keep the same women who supposedly enticed your men. You're going to kill the ones that are not virgins and kill all their boys. This is a way to wipe out a community. You kill the men, you kill the future men, the boys, kill all the women you're going to keep for yourselves and just leave the virgins. But my question is this: if they enticed you back in the day, why are you keeping their virgins? Why not kill all of them? Why kill some and spare some? That doesn't make any sense. If the mission is they enticed you and you guys had some whatever your God cursed you, why would you want to keep some of them? Because the deal here, they're avenging themselves, right? And if you're going to avenge themselves and kill their fathers and their brothers and their mothers, why not kill all of them? You already killed the others. So what else? It doesn't make sense. And this is why I don't understand. Why do they need virgins? Why does Yahweh need virgins? You might be saying, oh, it doesn't say he needs virgins over there. Okay, just hold on. I got you.
Anyone who has killed someone or touched someone who was killed must stay outside the camp 7 days. On the 3rd and 7th days, you must purify yourselves and your captives. Purify every garment as well as everything made of leather, goat hair, or wood.
Then Eleazar the priest said to the soldiers who had gone into battle,
This is what is required by the law that the Lord gave Moses: gold, silver, bronze, iron, tin, lead, and
Lead? These people need to get a chapter from over there in Michigan, Flint, Michigan. You want to tell me that Yahweh didn't know lead was poisonous? And these people are still using lead? He's all-knowing, all-powerful. He should know lead is not good for humans. And if you don't believe me, just go to Flint, Michigan and ask them what happened. Or ask yourself why people don't use lead paint. Because it's dangerous to humans. But I'm just being here, I'm nitpicking, so let me be quiet for a minute.
anything else that can withstand fire must be put through the fire, and then it will be clean. But it must also be purified with the water of cleansing, and whatever cannot withstand fire must be put through that water. On the 7th day, wash your clothes, and you will be clean. Then you may come into the camp.
The Lord said to Moses,
You and Eleazar the priest and the family heads of the community are to count all the people and animals that were captured. Divide the spoils equally between the soldiers who took part in the battle and the rest of the community. From the soldiers who fought in the battle, set apart as tribute for the Lord 1 out of every 500, whether people, cattle, donkeys, or sheep. Take this tribute from their half-share and give it to Eleazar the priest as the Lord's part. From the Israelites' half, select 1 out of every 50, whether people, cattle, donkeys, sheep, or other animals. Give them to the Levites, who are responsible for the care of the Lord's tabernacle.
So Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. The plunder remaining from the spoils that the soldiers took was 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 women who had never slept with a man. The half-share of those who fought in the battle was 337,500 sheep, of which the tribute for the Lord was 675, 36,000 cattle, of which the tribute for the Lord was 72, 30,500 donkeys, of which the tribute for the Lord was 61, 16,000 people, of whom the tribute for the Lord was 32. Moses gave the tribute to Eleazar the priest as the Lord's part, as the Lord commanded Moses.
Man, the math ain't math in here. This is why it's good to go to the University of Hard Knocks, where you learn critical thinking. Verse 35 says, there was 32,000 women who had never slept with a man. Verse 40, we see it's 16,000 people of whom the tribute of the Lord was studied to. First of all, they're playing mind games here. Saying 16,000 people means there could be women, men, children in there. But we already know they killed all the men, all the women, and all the boys, and left only women that have never slept with a man. So basically 32,000 virgins according to verse 35. So where the hell is the rest? 15,968 virgins. Where did they go? Just look at it. Verse 35, 32,000 women who had never slept with a man. Verse 40, 16,000 people whom the tribute to the Lord was 32. So we are missing 15,968 virgins. Where did they go? What did Yahweh do with these virgins? Because over here, they're saying they gave him 32. That's one too many. I want to know where the rest went. The math is not math in here. You can't start with 32 and finish with 16,000. If the initial number was 32,000, then we need to know where the rest went. Leave a comment down below. Tell me where the rest, the 15,968 virgins, where did they go? Because it says that the people go 16,000. Those are the armies of Israel. There was 12,000 army men, and they got 16,000 virgins. So you do the math. So there's some people who got more than 2 wives, right? If only 12,000 went to war, but their reward, their booty, is 16,000, that means someone somewhere got more than 2 or got 2 wives, right? But only 32 are to the Lord. I just want to know where 15,968 virgins went. That's a good question to go ask your pastor, your rabbi, and all your religious leaders.
The half belonging to the Israelites, which Moses set apart from that of the fighting men, the community's half, was 337,500 sheep, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 people.
Okay, Mr. Moses, where the hell is the rest? What, did you keep the virgins for yourself? Or what happened? What happened to them? We need to put a missing person posters out there. 15,968 missing posters, missing person posters, missing virgins posters, because we don't know where they went.
From the Israelites' half, Moses selected one out of every 50 people and animals as the Lord commanded him, and gave them to the Levites, who were responsible for the care of the Lord's tabernacle. Then the officers who were over the units of the army, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, went to Moses and said to him,
Your servants have counted the soldiers under our command, and not one is missing. So we have brought as an offering to the Lord the gold articles each of us acquired, armlets, bracelets, signet rings, earrings, and necklaces, to make atonement for ourselves before the Lord.
Why does Yahweh need ornaments, physical things, gold? Why does he need that? What is he going to do with it? He owns all of it. Why do the Israelites need that? They need to give them that for atonement for themselves. For what? What is it that they did that was so wrong? They got sent by the same God to go wipe out a community, and now they're coming to repent for their sins that they were sent by the same God. Again, it doesn't make sense, and this is why I want my people to understand. I am not doing this to hurt your feelings, to attack your faith or anything. Like I said, you need to go to the school of hard knocks, learn critical thinking. Think for yourself. Because if you do, you would understand here there's something wrong. The numbers don't make sense. The theory doesn't make sense. Everything in it doesn't make sense. The reason why I say it doesn't make sense is because this is supposedly a divine being. This is Yahweh, the God that people worship. Such things should not happen to an all-loving, all-merciful God. Well, it depends who you ask. And Christians think everybody is loved by God. That's why he gave his son on the cross. On the other hand, the Hebrews think they're the only ones who are loved and everybody else is a stepchild and is going to burn in hell or going to be a servant or some sort of slave. during the 1000 reign. My people, African people, all people, the human race. Let's stop and think about things. The words in this book could not be written by a higher being. This is just man who sat down and wrote these words and told you that it was God who said it. But if God did it, I don't think God would create people and then wipe them out and keep him for himself virgins. Does that make sense to you? That sounds like a so human thing. But anyways, let me stop the rants.
Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted from them the gold, all the crafted articles. All the gold from the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds that Moses and Eleazar presented as a gift to the Lord weighed 16,750 shekels. Each soldier had taken plunder for himself. Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted the gold from the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds and brought it into the tent of meeting as a memorial for the Israelites before the Lord. Chapter 30.
Man, this is a lot to unpack here. We wipe out an entire community, keep the virgins, and then their gold. Basically, let's go rob that community. What was the crime again? The women enticed their men. But hold on, we're going to keep those virgins. And did I say someone should put out a missing person posters of 15,968 virgins? Because they're missing. We don't know where they are. We know some men got more than 2, and we know the Lord, Yahweh, got 32. Where are the rest? Where are the rest? Something that you should ponder about. I mean, to understand Yahweh's supposed demand for virgins, we need to delve into the cultural and religious context of the time. See, ancient societies often offered sacrifices to their gods as a means of appeasing them or seeking their favor. Now, does that mean that they sacrificed humans? No. They didn't offer humans. It's only in the Bible. Well, the Mayans did, but also the Bible and the Mayans are the ones that I know of that sacrificed humans. The communities in the Bible, like Baal or whoever, and the Mayans sacrificed people. As African people, we do not sacrifice people. That's not in us. We offer gifts of sacrifices like sheep, goat, some special drinks, crops. That's how we did it. We never offered human sacrifices. As a matter of fact, you can go check on all African cultures. We are diverse. But I think one thing we have in common is we don't do human sacrifices. So people, the human race, my African people, wake up and read for yourself. Read this book back to back and see, be a spitting on our ancestors when we pledge allegiance to this book. We don't know where it came from. They just forced it on us and we ran with it. But anyways, continuing in my rant, many cultures, virgins were and are still considered the purest and the most valuable members of society because they are pure. They don't have the element of, we make sex like it's a bad thing. Sex is not a bad thing. It's just how it's done. Being promiscuous, of course, is a bad thing because you bring in diseases and stuff. But when someone is a virgin, even men, they look for virgins to marry because they trust them. They don't want to go with someone whose body count is 1,000 plus. No, who wants that? But in every culture, a virgin is viewed as just pure, in the purest form a human can be. Physically, I'm not saying spiritually or mentally, physically. So I gotta put that in there, But in the Hebrew Bible, particularly in the the Old Testament, we see instances where Yahweh is sort of depicted as demanding sacrifices, including those of virgins. These sacrifices were often seen as necessary to secure blessings or victory in battle. And you might be wondering, why am I going this? Well, there's a guy named Jephthah, a judge of Israel, who vows to sacrifice to Yahweh whatever comes out of his house to greet him if he is victorious in battle against the Ammonites. Jephthah emerges victorious, but to his dismay or to his demise, his only child, his daughter, joyfully runs out to greet him with their tambourines and dancing. Tragically, Jephthah is bound to his vow and sacrifices his daughter to fulfill it. What an idiot. That is an idiot right there. I said it. He's an idiot. Why would you make such a vow? I mean, this story raises profound moral and theological questions about the nature of Yahweh and the morality of human sacrifice. I mean, Yahweh is considered the God of Abraham, Isaac, and everybody else. Well, Christians try to make him their God, but I mean, this story, it just challenges our understanding of divine justice and the complexities of ancient religious practices. Now, instead of me keep rattling here, why don't we just go to Judges 11 and read about this story? Okay, let's just go there. Judges 11.
Chapter 11. Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty warrior. His father was Gilead. His mother was a prostitute.
Hold on. Just right off the bat, we already bashing this dude. Why do we need to say his mother was a prostitute? What, is that necessary information? You could have just used the mother's name. You used the daddy. And brings up the point I was talking about earlier, the misogynistic culture in the Bible. There's no place for women. I mean, it's not like the Egyptians placed the woman on top. That was their queen. We should all treat women with respect. Calling someone's mother a prostitute, that doesn't sound so holy, does it now? But anyways, let's keep going.
Gilead's wife also bore him sons, and when they were grown up, they drove Jephthah away.
"You are not going to get any inheritance in our family,"
they said,
"because you are the son of another woman."
So Jephthah fled from his brothers and settled in the land of Tob, where a gang of scoundrels gathered around him and followed him. Some time later, when the Ammonites were fighting against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob.
"Come,"
they said,
"be our commander so we can fight the Ammonites."
Jephthah said to them,
"Didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now, when—"
Yeah, good question. You ran him out because he was a child of a prostitute. Now you want him to be your leader?
"you're in trouble"?
The elders of Gilead said to him,
"Nevertheless, we are turning to you now. Come with us to fight the Ammonites, and you will be head over all of us who live in Gilead."
Jephthah answered,
Suppose you take me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me. Will I really be your head?
The elders of Gilead replied,
"The Lord is our witness. We will certainly do as you say."
So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them. And he repeated all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. Then Jephthah sent messengers to the Ammonite king with a question.
What do you have against me that you have attacked my country?
The king of the Ammonites answered Jephthah's messengers,
"When Israel came up out of Egypt, they took away my land, from the Arnon to the Jabbok, all the way to the Jordan. Now, give it back, peaceably."
Jephthah sent back messengers to the Ammonite king, saying,
This is what Jephthah says. Israel did not take the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites. But when they came up out of Egypt, Israel went through the wilderness to the Red Sea and on to Kadesh. Then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, Give us permission to go through your country. But the king of Edom would not listen. They sent also to the king of Moab, and he refused. So Israel stayed at Kadesh. Next, they traveled through the wilderness, skirted the lands of Edom and Moab, passed along the eastern side of the country of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. They did not enter the territory of Moab, for the Arnon was its border. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, and said to him, "Let us pass through your country to our own place." Sihon, however, did not trust Israel to pass through his territory. He mustered all his troops and encamped at Jahaz and fought with Israel. Then the Lord, the God of Israel, gave Sihon and his whole army into Israel's hands, and they defeated them. Israel took over all the land of the Amorites who lived in that country, capturing all of it, from the Arnon to the Jabbok, and from the desert to the Jordan. Now since the Lord, the God of Israel, has driven the Amorites out before his people Israel, what right have you to take it over? Will you not take what your god Chemosh gives you? Likewise, whatever the Lord our God has given us, we will possess. Are you any better than Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he ever quarrel with Israel or fight with them? For 300 years Israel occupied Heshbon, Aroer, the surrounding settlements, and all the towns along the Arnon. Why didn't you retake them during that time? I have not wronged you, but you are doing me wrong by waging war against me. Let the Lord, the judge, decide the dispute this day between the Israelites and the Ammonites.
The king of Ammon, however, paid no attention to the message Jephthah sent him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Jephthah. He crossed Gilead and Manasseh, passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from there he advanced against the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord,
"If you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's."
And here is the stupidest mistake I've ever heard someone do. Why would you make a promise that you couldn't fulfill? I mean, he fulfills it, but that would cost you dearly. If Yahweh, your God, was to give you victory, he could have given you victory without you offering him anything. After all, you're his chosen people. Why does he require something in return for your victories? He could have stopped you right here, be like, "Look, Jephthah, I don't need anything from you. I just need you to go and do my bidding, wipe out the Ammonites. That's what I need you to do. I don't need anything in return from you." But no, Yahweh lets this man take this vow, which is going to cost him everything.
"And I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering."
Then Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into his hands. He devastated 20 towns from Aroer to the vicinity of Minnith, as far as Abel-keramim. Thus Israel subdued Ammon. When Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, who should come out to meet him but his daughter, dancing to the sound of timbrels? She was an only child. Except for her he had neither son nor daughter. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and cried,
"Oh no, my daughter! You have brought me down, and I am devastated. I have made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break."
Now hold on a second. The vow, if I was his daughter, I'd be like, "Hold on, Daddy, I'll be right back. I'll never be seen again. You're not sacrificing me because you made a vow without consulting me to your God." I mean, this is where I can't understand this thought process here, and that Yahweh is okay with this. First of all, he stopped Abraham from sacrificing Isaac. Why did he not do it for Jephthah? That's a question to ask your religious leader.
Her friends went into the hills and wept because she would never marry. After the 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he had vowed, and she was a virgin.
And he sacrificed his daughter because he made a vow. Yahweh accepts human sacrifice. How do you reconcile that? You churchgoers, people who follow this book. The same Yahweh told his children not to put the children through the fire, but now he's accepting human sacrifices. And y'all looked at the Mayas like they were crazy when they sacrificed people. But you can't, the same spectacles you used to scrutinize the Mayans, you should be used the same for Yahweh in this chapter right here and the chapter before. But we've been told God's word. I don't think God would implicate himself this way. That's just my thoughts.
From this comes the Israelite tradition that each year the young women of Israel go out for 4 days to commemorate the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite.
Yeah, every year. Let's go commemorate the Lord taking human sacrifices of virgins. I mean, the story of Jephthah's daughter serves as a stark reminder of human cost of religious zeal and the importance of critical reflection on ancient texts like the Bible. It compels us to question the morality of actions attributed to divine commands and to seek deeper understanding beyond literal interpretations. You should be asking yourself, why is it that the Lord is seeking virgins and gold? What is he going to do with it? This is not an allegory. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, this can be taken literally, this is not an allegory. So it's supposed to be historical. So my question is this: why does Yahweh require virgins? And where are the 15,968 missing virgins? What happened to them? Why should you worship a God that accepts human sacrifice? Why should you pledge allegiance to a book that supports and condones human sacrifice? There's genocide in those 2 chapters we read. How come you never questioned that? The same book was used to massacre a lot of people. Genocide has been committed in the name of Yahweh. Africa was colonized in the name of Yahweh. And yet Africans, we are so dumb and so yellow about Jesus that we stopped doing what we used to do, how we used to worship. We used to worship standing up, hands up, facing the east and facing certain mountains. And we gave thanks to our ancestors and God. But today we kneel and bow our heads down. So I'm asking you, is this the God that you want to serve for the rest of your life? A God of genocide, and a God who accepts human sacrifice, and a God who likes virgins?